Welcome to Soulful Talks with Ellen.
Really big topics, really.
Yeah, whatever you want.
Yeah.
Whatever you want.
So, Eleni, one of the
Elena.
questions. Because we're the same name almost, right?
We are the same name.
Eleni Romanian and then the Greek.
There you go.
I find like you're my spiritual sister.
Oh, I like that. very
Sometimes
much.
when I just talk to you, I feel like I want to cry and laugh at the same time, and it feels like a little bit of a.
It's like it's like ugly and excited all together.
Oh,
Yeah.
So, one of the questions that I prepared for you, also because I'm really curious, like honestly curious, I find you and I learned with you to be really present with people. Maybe because before I met you, I was used to having people, talking to you, but at the same time, taking care of their kid, or talking to me at the same time doing their work, their job. And somehow I found this more or less okay, but it bothered me. I didn't know it bothered me. So then when I started being with you, I saw this 100% presence that you give to someone, and you're so like, genuinely interested, and there's this ping pong going. And then I'm trying naturally to do this with other people.
To be more present with
Yes,
others.
and I learned this with you. Now, have you always been this way, or you also learned it?
I'm going to say that there's a part of me that was always this way, and I think that the part of me was the social, and part of me that like I like to connect with other people. I have a strong need to feel connection with others, and I've always been a very curious person. I remember always being a curious child, wanting to share things. Like my parents used to tell me, Eleni, you share too much information with other people, but a lot of my connection was outward. So it was about me expressing myself, sharing myself, me taking up a lot of space, which today I've learned to embrace a lot more. I used to actually even have an issue with that. But I think it really changed for me when I started studying psychology. And psychology really is the science of understanding human behavior. And understanding became such a strong value for me at that phase of my life. And I think I even remember at some point, taking the metro one day after school and just looking at people from kind of like an out-of-body experience and having a click, and I say, isn't it crazy how much we don't really know or see the people that we interact with on a daily basis? It's very kind of like we're going through the motions, and it's very surface level and all of these things.
Yeah.
And so a deeper curiosity stemmed from the motivation of understanding kind of fused together. And then I started to, it was kind of like an experiment, right? And it was kind of like, I wonder what it would be like to really understand somebody. I wonder how that would change. I wonder how that would change the way I interact. I wonder how that would change the way I respond to them, the way I see them, the way I understand them. Like maybe I only understand them at a certain level. And so it started to become more of a questioning. So as opposed to me sharing about me, then I started saying, well, I started to start asking about you. And then as opposed to just listening to respond, which is usually what we all do.
Yeah.
Right? It's like I'm waiting for you to finish your answer, and as you're finishing your answer, I'm already preparing a response.
Yes.
So there's a lot of transactionalism, right?
Yes.
You give me this, I respond with that. It's like a ping pong game.
Yes.
It started gradually to change that I would ask in order to just listen and learn, understand, and see who you were. And in that space of not having an agenda necessarily, or not looking to necessarily respond with the questions, I felt like people would react more vulnerably and even more surprised, because usually we're not given the opportunity to be experienced fully. And so I surprised myself, because I said, wow, this is such a crazy experiment, because I would just decide to be curious and want to understand and give people a space to just show me who they are. And at first, you know, people can become very uncomfortable, but with time, it was like this revelation for them because they said, I don't feel like this around other people. And so that motivated me. And I said, well, how beautiful is it? And today, the way I see it is I'm curious to discover a world in front of me. So, you know, when I see a new person, I'm like, ooh, who is this person? And what could they teach me? And what is their experience? And what can I learn from them?
Right.
And so it became this, you know, this just way of functioning that I want to be present. Now, because I'm such at a level that I give so much presence, it can also be taxing. So in the rare occasion where I find that I can't do that, it's also a matter of protecting myself and saying, you know what, we're having such a great conversation. However, I need to take care of this, or I'm finding myself tired. Would you be so kind if we could continue it at another time? So it's as opposed to me kind of just glazing over,
Yes.
and then I go from being super present to, you know,
disappearing.
Okay,
Yes,
and
yes.
then like you,
This happens when we get tired.
right? When you get tired, and a lot of people feel uncomfortable because they're like, well, I was present, and sometimes what will happen is the person gets so excited that they just want to share everything with you. Like, I never got the opportunity to share this much.
Yes.
Blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
And you're like, okay, let me get comfortable because I feel like we're gonna be here a little while, right? And sometimes that's great when I have the energy to do it, but sometimes, you know, I need to also protect myself, but I don't want to dismiss the other person. So it's kind of like knowing, like, it's beautiful to be present, but it also comes with knowing how to establish healthy boundaries and being like, this has been fun. I need to go, or I need to take a break. Can we do this another time? So you're still recognizing the value and you still make the other person feel important. And it's amazing and so crazy how much it impacts your relationships. And part of my mission,
I have to learn that. I
yes,
have to learn that.
but part of my mission is if we learn how to relate in these ways, like, we would all be showing up so much more wonderfully for one another, so much more genuinely, so much more presently, and people would be more happy because they're like, you know, it's, for me, it's sad that typically people will respond, I'm not used to being seen. I'm not used to people taking an interest in me. I'm not used to being understood. And it shouldn't be the case.
So sad.
It is sad, but it's very common.
At the same time, okay, that's an extreme, very sad extreme, when people are feeling unseen. And I think I had also periods in my life when I felt invisible, and it was right before I met you. But also there's another extreme where people, and you are with someone and you feel like they're venting, and they're venting hard, and actually they don't really care about what you have to say. They just have to say it, and they're just throwing at you all this pain they're living. And I felt weird. Sometimes I felt a lot of pity for them, and I wanted to hug them, which is also not good to feel pity for someone. Sometimes I feel very angry because I ask myself, how come you're complaining to me about the same things again and again? To me, it's obvious that you shouldn't complain, but to them, it's pain. It's real pain. And I avoid this kind of relationships. And I know I'm not strong, and I'm not, you know, I'm still learning to be present for someone who needs much more assistance. They need a coach, not me.
Mm-hmm.
But how do I show up in a relationship where people just need my ears? And at the same time, not avoiding them, but at the same time, not also giving so much of my time when I know it's in vain. It's just time that's not appreciated by them because they don't need me. They just need my ears.
Mm-hmm. It's a good question. I think it really depends on who's the person is that's venting. If you feel that it's a person that, by being more honest about the reality of the fact that they're venting or complaining, will have a negative response to you, reactive response to you, like, oh, what do you mean? No, you know. I think the best thing is that you yourself establish boundaries, right? And say, well, I want to give this person some time, but I want to be responsible of the amount of time that I give this person. So it's, you know, it could be something as simple as you call this person and say, hey, I have 15 minutes between this and that. How are you doing? And in your head, you probably already know that the other person is just gonna like,
No.
exactly. But you've mentally prepared yourself for, it's only 15 minutes. and I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna listen to him or her, and I'm gonna, you know, take it in. The other thing is, if you think that the person has room to grow and has a certain amount of consciousness, what you could do is, I know venting is important because sometimes you need to get stuff off your chest. I'm giving you a free pass of 10 minutes to just get everything out. Just like let loose,
Let it out.
go wild. But when these 10 minutes are over, we're gonna put a pin in it and we're gonna talk about more positive things.
Exactly.
Whether it's funny or light or deep or whatever,
Yes.
we're gonna talk about more constructive things, because right now, or just in general, like, what is all this venting gonna? So I want to recognize the humanity in you. I want to acknowledge the pain in you. So we're gonna do it, but let's do it within a healthy margin, even for yourself.
Exactly.
And then let's just,
Shove it over. Like,
well, it's done. We
done.
got it out of the system.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
catharsis is done. Next,
Yeah.
let's bring some positivity into the picture.
it's true. So true. Eleni, she mentioned a very magical word, which is boundaries.
Boundaries.
And I have a friend. I have one friend, a girlfriend, that I love dearly, and we talk about boundaries with her.
Okay.
And since I'm learning with Eleni and I'm sharing with her, and she says, wow. So I know that she's gonna like this part when she listens to it, but what are boundaries and what can you tell us about them and why are they so important?
Okay, good question. I'm still going deeper into it myself. It's something that I've learned more recently, and it's a lot of the process about being a coach is what I learned I need to work on, because I have to practice before I preach. So a lot of the things I learn are relatively fresh, and I try to put it into place. But boundaries is essentially knowing what your worth is, defining what your standards are, defining, you know, it's kind of like, if you have no boundaries, it's like you're an open house.
Yes.
People can come and
Come
go
in and go.
as they please. Having boundaries is showing people where the door is and deciding when it's locked or open.
So cool.
Okay, so that's essentially the analogy of it. And the thing is that we teach people how we want to be treated. So a lot of times, and I've been guilty of this, you know, a very extreme example is people who will say, you know what, I do this for you, I do that for you, I show up for you, and you don't appreciate me. And as rude as it sounds, the other person could just turn around and say, thank you, but I never asked you to do that. Right? So a lot of times people create situations to kind of feel important and validated and needed in order for them to feel value.
Yeah.
But what happens is that then other people will abuse them and step all over them. So you have to also understand that your boundary is something that you draw the line, and that as much as you want to feel needed, you also have to understand what comes with feeling needed. So establishing the boundary is about defining more so the fact, well, there's good ways to be valued, there's good ways to be recognized, and there's negative ways to be valued and negative ways to be recognized. And if what you really want is appreciation, what if you really want is a person to value your time, you have to set those limits. Like, hi, I only have 15 minutes. That's a boundary.
Exactly.
You have to set those minutes. And if somebody goes over your boundary and wants to abuse it, and you're gonna lose a friend or a loved one over that, that's on them. Because if you say, hey, in order for me to show up for you, in order for me to protect myself, which is something that I do now, you know, sometimes people say, hey, I miss you, I want to hang out with you. And I said, I miss you too. But right now I'm exhausted, or right now I'm having a tough day, or right now I'm overstimulated and there's a million things going on. So even if I come over because you want or need me so much, I'm not going to show up in the way that you want.
I won't be present.
I won't be present, or worse, I'm going to be bitter or difficult or angry, or I might react. Exactly. And so I'm putting up the boundary because I need to protect myself. I need to take care of myself. And when I'm ready, I will come and see you.
Exactly.
But we need to teach people that.
Exactly.
And we cannot expect them to know that. But before we teach them, we need to define it ourselves. So it's kind of like you need to take an inventory of, oh, how do I function optimally? What is, a healthy relationship for me? What does that look like? What is language I accept? What is behavior I accept? What is behavior that I don't accept? What is respect for me?
So basically, always going back to know thyself, know yourself, and then people will see you, the contour of you.
The basics.
But like, I just have to say two things. And first thing, guys, this is a free coaching class, but a superlative là. This is Eleni with me when I'm with her. Amazing, beautiful words she's saying, number one. Number two things, I'll just reiterate because this is so freaking important. I have goosebumps. Boundaries is when you have the door to your life is there and you decide when it's open and locked. Because Eleni told me that I'm a house. Each of us is a house. And my house, I want it to be full of light and joy and laughter. And I open the door and I say, hey, hi. But if people wants to come in, I'm gonna invite them and I'm gonna treat them the way I am. But if they want to leave, I will let them go. And it's so like respecting me, respecting them. I do that. Yeah. And you taught me this analogy of the house, and I always think about it. And the boundaries are actually that door that when I feel it has to be closed, I'll close it, and I'm not gonna feel guilty.
You might feel that your light is fading out, right? You might feel that you're spreading too much light. You have to close the door.
It for me to keep inside. I have a friend who I think she's very good at expressing her boundaries. So she told me that I have a very demanding job, which means that on the weekend I'm going to recharge my battery. So because I know that about her, I'm gonna write to her, how are you? I hope you're fine. Call me when you can. She doesn't answer. I know she's just drained. She needs to relax. She's gonna write to me 3 days later saying, hey, thank you for checking up on me. I'll call you soon. So I like so much this friendship with her because she's telling me what she's expecting of me. I'm showing her that I'm there for her, but I'm recognizing her lifestyle. She knows that I'm free because, well, I'm a freelancer, right? So my time is different. But it's so much easier to be friends with someone who respects themselves. They show me, and it's I don't know. I just find this fascinating because when I started doing that, suddenly I don't feel resentful towards myself for showing up for myself. Look, I don't want to offend you, but this is what's important to me. Let's talk about it. You know, it's just so. I stopped having nightmares when I started showing up for myself. And I know this is a bit more mystical for some of you, and you don't have to believe all the crap I'm saying, because Eleni, she's the specialist. But I used to have a lot of nightmares of crying, of being ashamed. I think that shame is one of those things that are like darkness inside us, and it's so hard to tackle it. But when I was working with you, I also read Habit Learner, those 3 books that really changed, really shook me inside. And I used to have a lot of dreams of shame that I felt when I was a teenager. And when I started working with you, all this somehow started resurfacing. I cried one day about it. I felt like I was a teenager again. It was like, not so pleasant, but it was very important. I knew I was doing something very important there. And then I stopped having these nightmares about shame. It's as if I recognize it, I let it go. And now when I'm with someone and I see that I'm overstepping, I actually see it. I'm not getting angry. I'm not expecting them to somehow magically know me. I just tell them, I'm sorry, but this is not okay. And I don't know, I think I'm becoming a better me.
You are.
Thanks to you, Eleni. It's so interesting also.
But you already had it in you, right? And that's what's cool about coaching is that people surprise themselves in the process and they're like, oh, thank you, you did the work. I said, no, I just helped you see the things that you already have, right? I feel that coaching is like, I have this key to this toolbox that you didn't realize that you had inside you.
Exactly.
Right? And really you've always had
toolbox,
the key, right?
Toolbox.
It's the magical toolbox.
Yes.
Toolbox, yeah. You always had the key, but I kind of said like, hey, by the way, Elena, you have a key over here, and this is like, here's the keyhole, and open it, and then we open it together, and you're like, hey, I have all these tools. Or I'll tell you, by the way, did you know that you had these great tools? And you're like, no, not really. like what is this for?
Yes.
And so my point is to bring light to the fact that you have that and help you see how to use it to reach your potential. And that's what is so beautiful and empowering about coaching. It's like, I'm just guiding you to the things that are already within you. The treasures are already within you. The tools are already within you. And when people realize that, it's such an uplifting feeling, and it's so empowering, and it's so enthusiastic and exciting that you kind of just want to, you know, hit the ground running. And I think that when you start to see that stuff in yourself, and you see other people who are also owning it and stepping into their worth, it's a reaffirmation for you, and it's an example for you, and it's supporting you, and it's inspiring you, right? So yeah, I think that's why the process is so beautiful and important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I want to give you a hug. I'll give you a hug later when we're done interviewing.
COVID hug.
Yes, COVID hug.